staff members seem to be the controlling, be in the control of the activities. And if you come with that spirit of controlling, you can somehow demotivate people who are coming with the spirit of volunteering. But if you come with the spirit of listening, inspiring, and also encouraging, I think it is something that can be a kind of retaining or motivating volunteers.
Hello, I'm Priyanka Patel. I'm the Innovation Manager of the Kenya Red Cross Society, and I'd like to also get your title and what it is that you do.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Balthazar Bacinoni. I'm working for ICRC for the time being, but I have been working for my national society in Burundi Red Cross for more than 20 years.
Wow.
And I started as a volunteer, and I also evolved as a branch coordinator for 4 years until the national society collapsed. And then we had to reschedule or to restart the national society.
Okay.
I was part of it, and
Wow.
I was recruited to go to the headquarters to try to revive the national society, and that was a very good challenge for me.
Yeah.
And I started in 2004 at the headquarters, and I've been in many positions in the National Society as the head of branch development,
Right.
as the head of OD department and dissemination department, advisor to the Secretary General, in many positions. And I've been doing so many missions with the ICRC and facilitating so many trainings as regards OCAC, for example, and OCAC evaluations with national societies, and also with BOCA. And currently, I left my national society in September 2021, and I joined ICRC as a volunteer development delegate. But what I have been doing in my national society, I'm now supporting 3 national societies doing the same, supporting them to develop volunteering, particularly focusing on the security, safety, and the well-being of volunteers. And I'm also actually using the tools that were developed by the movement, ICRC and the ICRC, and combining it, trying to show in the national societies what is the link between the different tools and how they can be beneficial to the volunteers' security and safety and well-being.
That is very, very impressive and very inspirational, because I started as a volunteer. I started as a volunteer in the year 2012. I was still in university, and then I figured I have some free time, let me try and volunteer. So I joined the Kenya Red Cross as a volunteer. And then over the years, of course, I was volunteering, but volunteering has been at the core of my heart, but also in fact, everyone that works within the Red Cross and Red Crescent movement, volunteering is at the heart of each one of us. So hearing your story that you've been in this for 20 years, that is very impressive. But I understand that being in that space of supporting volunteers, and you mentioned that it also collapsed and you were part of the team that helped to bring it back. You've worked on different tools. What is your experience being in pushing this in the National Society? Because I understand when you're trying to do something different, you do get challenges.
Yes.
You have been the head of OD, you've mentioned all these different titles, as well as being experienced in the different fields now. You've got a vast amount of knowledge and expertise. So how did you face the challenges that you came across when your tools were being implemented in that case?
I can tell you the field experience I got when I was a branch coordinator helped me a lot to think how we can do things differently. Because, you know, when I was in the field as a branch coordinator, we were very much supported by movement partners who were bringing so much money with the projects which were funded, and volunteers were volunteering on the basis of allowances, where they were volunteering, and then we're giving them money every month. So when the system collapsed, when all the movement partners withdrew, volunteers said there is no longer the National Society. The National Society is dead because we are not having what we used to have. And then when I went to the headquarters 2 years after, because the crisis, when there was the crisis in the National Society, everything was closed. All the staff were fired, and even volunteers, all the branches that we made up or we set up, those people disappeared in the nature. We didn't see them anymore. And when I came to the headquarters, the leadership told me, can you try to rethink how we can reset up the National Society and how we can revive the National Society? As somebody who was experienced in the field, I said, I can't think of recruiting or mobilizing volunteers the same way we did, because it was based on money. So I thought of what we used to do. Actually, I told you I was a volunteer for Burundi Red Cross, but in the community I grew up, I was volunteering. When I was in secondary school, I used to help people when they constructed their houses. We used to contribute, bringing grasses to cover the roofs of the houses. Then I knew what it meant to volunteer without expecting any payment. So in 2007, we got a proposition from the Federation if we could set up volunteering at the community level. So we had to start from scratch. We went to the corners, to the areas where Red Cross has not been present, never been present. And where maybe people have been benefiting from World Food Program, and the volunteers who were distributing that, the assistance, were paid. And when we went to the field and talked to people, in the beginning we were rejected. They told us, what on hell are you telling us? Are you giving us food? Are you giving us money if we want us to do something? Then it took myself and my colleague who was in communications, it took us 2 weeks to sit down, discuss with people. And you know, in the beginning when I was in the field, and we used to tell people, if you want to be a volunteer, you pay a membership card, you give an X amount of money, then you will receive training. And the people were receiving training, but when they went back, they were expecting to have another training without doing anything with the training they had before. Right. Then we thought, instead of using the same approach, let's ask people if they can do something in their own community. Okay. And then people said, no, we can't. We are very poor. After 2 weeks of discussions, so people said, yeah, we can do something, because when we are in the refugee camps in Tanzania, we remember Red Cross also helped us. Then I asked them, what would you like to do? They said, don't ask us to give money. And I took the risk of telling people, no one will ask you money, because if you accept to volunteer, we will appreciate if you can do a service in your community, but no one will ask you to pay money. Then we agreed on a day to deliver service. There was a young couple who was returning from, if you watch a video that we made, you can see a very poor couple who were coming from Tanzania, who didn't have a land, and a neighbor gave him a part of his land. Then some people said we can dig their land. So we asked them, can you allow us to come and take a video of your activity? They said, yes, you can come. From the moment we took the video and we took pictures, we came back. The same day. When they saw, other people saw what they were doing, there are 20 or 25 people digging the field, and then they automatically accepted to use the Red Cross pips. So we took pictures and we made the video. Other people came and say, can we join you? And there was a young woman I will never forget who said, instead of coming to us, you also have people like this go and do the same thing in your on your colline. And I was very much impressed, but I never forget that.
Yeah.
So when we did this video film, we decided to show it all over in all the provinces. Then when people saw what they were doing, very simple activity, something that doesn't cost any money and only for 2 hours a week, they said, this is something very simple, we can also do it. Then we started encouraging people to do the same thing. And unlike what we used to do, we let people organize themselves. And then instead of designing the service, because the Federation was telling us you can design the service and test the service.
Yeah.
But once in the field, we thought if we design the service, we'll be repeating the same mistake.
Of course.
Let people design the service.
I like that. If I can pick that, like designing, letting community design the service for themselves. And volunteering is about that. It needs to be from the heart. You need to connect with it.
Yes.
You need to feel the need to volunteer because it's not just for yourself. It's not just for others, but it's for yourself too.
Yeah.
Because today you're helping someone and tomorrow you'll need the help and they'll come for you. So your example of how even the refugees, when they are in Tanzania, the Red Cross is helping them. They felt that personal touch that one day we'll need the help and they will come. And they saw the farmers and everyone coming together. They were all volunteering to, come out and support. But then when you do that, when you have volunteers coming together and understanding and connecting with the importance and need for volunteering,
yes.
What is the one thing that you would say today to encourage them to continue volunteering? Because your experience from then to now, you've seen volunteering change over the years.
Yes.
So what has your one take been on this experience of volunteering?
What I have experienced is that if you let people with initiatives, they take initiative, and then you put first listening to them, and then you put in front or before collaboration and cooperation. People will do amazing work. But there is something I've never agreed with people in the national settings, because staff members seem to be the controlling, being the control of the activities. And if you come with that spirit of controlling, you can somehow demotivate people who are coming with the spirit of volunteering. But if you come with the spirit of listening, inspiring, and also encouraging, I think it is something that can be a kind of retaining or motivating volunteers. But of course, things have changed now. I can't tell you, for example, 10 years ago or 20 years ago, people were ready to help each other.
Yeah.
But today, the volunteers now, if you find them in the communities, they are so poor that they cannot even afford what they can eat themselves.
Right.
And once again, instead of going to tell them if they can volunteer, you can discuss with them what can they do to overcome their difficulties. And then you can come as somebody who can support, but the ideas are their own ideas, and then you come and you help with, if you have an expertise, you can inspire them, then you let them solve their own problems. For example, today, if you come and say you volunteer, the motivation today in many national societies, of course, is not sustainable. You come with a project and then you say, if you come, you'll volunteer, then you get allowances. But this is something I found is not sustainable, because it's not based on the values in the community.
Right.
And in Africa, I'm sorry to say it, we have been somehow artificial national societies.
Right.
Because they were not created in the normal way national societies should be created. And we were and the branches of former colonies, and then we used to see white people as givers and we black people as receivers. That has created a dependency in the mindset of people and has blocked the initiatives. But today I think this is the case for many national societies in Africa. They expect to come to have a project, to deliver, and then to have money. But I went to many national societies and I discussed with many volunteers. Many volunteers are expecting from the national societies headquarters to give them money so that when they volunteer. But I told them, if you want money, you don't go to the national, they don't have money.
Right.
I told them the truth. If you want the national society to help you, you can get trainings, you can build your capacity, then you can use your capacity to overcome your problems. But if you think you will get money from the national society, this is the wrong way.
Yeah.
Instead, start thinking of how you can come together.
Yeah.
You come together with your ideas and how you can put together your ideas and see how what you can do together. And then you can call upon maybe support or technical support or finance, but you have to start with your own ideas.
So that's very, it resonates a lot with the national societies in Africa, and I agree. And just picking up about what you said just now around allowances and depending on the national society to support volunteers financially isn't sustainable, which I agree with, and I also understand your experience has proven that, and I read a little bit about that, so at least I was able to understand a bit of the concept that you're mentioning here. Because would you say that volunteers that are being assigned roles for volunteering should be volunteers that come from that community and relate and feel the importance of delivering a specific task, so that they're able to do it because they want to do it, as opposed to calling volunteers to do a task somewhere else and having to compensate them for their time, because then in that case you are financially straining the organization, but also logistically straining the organization. So learning from your example, what I'm seeing is that you're saying that volunteers from community A should volunteer in community A. And if they go to community B, then transport, allowances, all that becomes a juggle. But if you're taking them to community B to capacity build them, then that makes more sense, because then they can go back to their community and practice what they learned from community B.
Yeah, and that brings me to think of the idea of importing and exporting volunteers.
Yes.
It's happened in the Burundi, for example, when some volunteers said, we are trained, we can go and do activities in that community, and that revolted. They created a kind of rejection from the volunteers in the community. But later on, when we had volunteers in each community, there was a kind of mutual learning, exchanging experience, and then volunteers from some local units could say, you are better than us, can you come and teach us or train us? That was very fantastic. But instead of imposing volunteers coming from one area to another, and there is another thing, when we set up all the community volunteers in all the Red Cross units, more than 2,900 unit colleagues, we realized that we cannot let them alone. We need to coordinate, we need to support. And then it came the idea of, if we look for partners, they must come, they can support with projects that go in line with the activities that are being implemented by the volunteers. And then it became the idea of coming to build the capacity and strengthening, instead of coming to say you can do this and that.
Right.
And then building on what is existing. If the project was over, the activities will be sustained, because it will have been supporting the activities that were initiated by the volunteers.
Yes.
But yeah, this is how can I say it? This is something that proved to be sustainable,
Okay.
but you cannot let them stand alone.
Of
They
course.
need support from
Right.
the headquarters.
Correct.
And then when the community level is strong,
Mhm.
you have to set up a lab at the headquarters, thinking how can we keep this system going? And this is a very big challenge. It's a very big challenge.
It is, and that's the thing. Like, it's going to continue to be a challenge, and that is what I wanted to even ask you is, I am where I am right now because I started as a volunteer, and I was able to learn, grow in the organization. I have a daughter who is 2, and I one day I want her to volunteer as well, so she also learns the importance of giving back. Whether you have or you don't, it's always about giving back, even if it's just advisory to someone or guidance or support. I'm sure you've got children as well who you want to
Who are
be
grown up.
and I'm sure are in the volunteering. I have already participated as volunteers as well. And there's one attitude that I love about the Red Cross is, once a volunteer, you're always a volunteer, right? That's what we live by, and that's what we say. I've met you just a couple of minutes ago, and we started having this conversation. You have been very humble, and with your vast experience, everything that it is that you do, you seem to come out very simple, yet very conserved. Like, you are at the same time sharing so much information, very respectful. And you did mention to me earlier that everything you have achieved, you dedicated to a team, because you achieved this thanks to your team behind you. But I would say it's leadership that takes this. I would say the right leadership is what helps drive the right volunteering attitude in an organization, in a national society as well. You have portrayed that, but what I'm interested to know is, who is your coach? Do you have a mentor?
Yeah.
Are you coaching someone as well?
I had a coach. When we started restructuring the National Society in 2007, I had a coach who was sent by International Federation, whose name is Krista Leopold. He's a Swedish person. He inspired me very much, and I saw his attitude inspired me so much. He was a knowledgeable person. He's still a knowledgeable. He wrote so many things. He wrote many books, but he was so humble when he was teaching us, training us, that I said, this is somebody I should can be my role model. And one of the things that I kept from what he said, he said, normally at Red Cross, we don't help people, we empower people to help themselves. This is something I kept in mind and said, oh, this is something fantastic. We don't help people. We can empower to help themselves.
Yes.
And that was the idea, and that inspired me, and that helped us to be successful in creating the Red Cross units at the community level, and having volunteers from within the community. And this challenge, I think, the ideas of people who think poor people cannot volunteer. Everyone has got the spirit of volunteering. And you think of the way they live, those people, on a daily basis.
Right.
They are living and they are helping each other. It's on the basis of that they help each other.
Thank you.
And then Red Cross took the opportunity to say, this is the model of volunteering we want in the Red Cross.
Thank you. And I think we'll just leave it with that, because you said what matters is the spirit of volunteering, which everybody has, regardless of your background and regardless of your experience and where you come from. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing with us your experience.
So it's a pleasure. Thank you.